Good morning, DFLers. Welcome to the DFL Daily. I am Jim Hyington, Executive Director of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, filling in for Richard today. There are a few events today that we want to call out for you. South Minneapolis is having a coffee and conversation at 3 p.m. There is a virtual phone bank for CD1 at 3:30 p.m. And the Hubbard County DFL Potluck is at 4:30 p.m. today. There is also an event that I think might have the best event title I've ever heard called Past Pork and Pestering Your Representatives in Elk River at 6:30 p.m. today. And Senate District 43 is having their plant sale in Golden Valley. You can find any of these events and more, as always, at dfl.org/events. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Yesterday, we celebrated a one-year milestone for the party. Today, we are actually getting back into the message memo. Every week, we focus on a single message to help name what Minnesotans are experiencing in real time, right now, today, and lift up DFL leaders like yourself that are doing the great work to advance this issue. This is how we ensure that we are all talking about the same thing, that we are aligning and amplifying our voices as much as possible, and we are going to dive in with this week's topic. The topic this week is simple. It is affordability. I know we've talked about it before, but we cannot overemphasize this enough. And we really want to bring that home. We want to make this not just jargons, but actually talking about the ways in which people are experiencing affordability. So we are introducing a simple concept called the Affordability 4. This is what we want people to remember. And these are the four things that we want you to use in your own communication, your own storytelling, your own water cooler conversations, your conversations at the gas pump, your conversations at the mailbox, when you were talking to people about the ways that we are all feeling costs increase and the pinches that we're having on our pocketbooks. The first of those things is food. Think of things like the price of groceries and how much that has increased over time. Think about what your grocery bill used to cost versus what it costs now, or what is no longer in your cart because you can't afford for that grocery bill to get larger than it was before. Republicans are taking more money from your paycheck to fund their priorities, and they're doing it at the expense of literally your groceries, the food that you are able to bring home to your family every single week. The second of these is on healthcare. Costs of healthcare keep on skyrocketing. Republicans have hiked up premiums. They've sided with things like big insurance companies. They are taking away all of the safety nets that we have to keep ourselves safe, our families safe and healthy in our day-to-day living. The third of these things is education. School and college are too expensive. Every kid has the right to an education. And stop. Let's make that very, very simple. Every child has the right to an education, especially in a world that is changing as rapidly as ours, where we need people to have the skills they need to get through the day and to compete in the job market of tomorrow. Republicans are making it harder to afford education. And the last and fourth of these things is housing. Rent is too high. Mortgages are too high. The cost of housing is too high and housing stock is too low. Everybody deserves a stable place to live. Republicans side with corporate landlords and developers instead of Minnesotans. The American dream is slipping out of reach for working families. This is the promise of America. This is why people come to our country. This is why families choose to raise their children here, so the next generation is going to have it better. The promise that America stands for is broken, and it's broken because of the choices that Republicans in power are making every single day. If you work hard, you should be able to support your family and get ahead. Minnesota Democrats are for that. We are for economic fairness. We are working every day to make sure that people's lives are better and bring down costs where people feel it the most. Facts matter. We know this. Those facts give our message credibility. This is how we ensure that it's not just gossip and rumor or opinion right now. So we always give you the data to back it up. And here's the data that supports the story of what we are seeing on the ground. Remember how we talked about the price of groceries being up? We know the data on that. The cost of coffee has gone up 21%. I don't know about you, but I need my coffee in the morning. Ground beef, 14%. Orange juice, 28%. Household furnishings, 8%. Clothing, 14%, just since Trump took office in 2025. In a little more than a year, we've seen costs increase tens to 20 percentage points over what they used to be. By a 2-to-1 margin, voters say a middle-class life is out of reach for most Americans. That is a major turn from what our society has been like for generations. Food. 7 in 10 Americans say their grocery costs have risen in the past year. Healthcare. A third of Americans say that in the past year, they have had to skip or postpone getting health care just because of how much it costs. Education. 50%, 56% of parents in the US say a college degree isn't worth the cost that it has today. And housing. About half of Americans say that housing costs are a major source of financial stress, and more than half of renters say that rent is unaffordable. All of those sources are in the message memo. Make sure that you check that out. Because according to a new poll just this week, 2/3 of Americans disapprove of the way that Trump is handling the economy and the cost of living. That's major. 2/3 of Americans. Later this year, Donald Trump will become the first sitting president whose signature will appear on US dollar bills. When I hear those facts, to me, those tell a very, very powerful story. What do you hear when you hear those facts? Literally right now, those of us on the call, put your comments into the chat. Put your thoughts into the chat. We're going to workshop this right now together. While we do that, I'll give you some inspiration. Sometimes the easiest way to bring these things to life is not through facts, it's through emotion, through telling personal stories and storytelling. So let's have some of the quotes that Minnesotans have given us do the words for themselves. One of the quotes from a Minnesota swing voter, "I do not feel like I've achieved the American dream or that I even will for that matter." That's heartbreaking to hear. That's from a Minnesotan, someone here in our state. Another quote, "In today's time, a second job is almost needed to take in the extra cost of food going up or gas going up or electricity." Those are basic things. Electricity, food, gas. The fact that people need 2 full-time jobs just to afford those things means something is fundamentally broken with the promise of the American dream. But here's what one Republican had to say about all of that. Take one less trip to Starbucks. That was Republican U.S. Senate candidate Michelle Tafoya telling Minnesotans how they should manage their skyrocketing prices. Let that sink in for just 1 second. All 3 of those quotes. And keep posting that to your channels. Keep mentioning that at the water cooler conversations, at the mailbox conversations, at the gas pump, in the grocery store line, at the daycare drop-off line. People have been telling us how disgusted they are by the suggestion from Republicans about the moment that we're in and how it's being handled. As always, we want you to use your own words for it. Thank you for the chat. I see the chat popping off right now. Let's keep putting some comments in there. So we always give you a do say and a don't say. Because as Democrats, we know that the words that we use and message discipline matters. When we stay focused on what families are experiencing, people will understand the stakes. It is crucial for us to learn to speak about these things in a nuts and bolts way that highlights the impact that Minnesotans are experiencing. Not abstract concepts of things like affordability and the economy. We need to bring this to life. We need to talk about costs. I'm going to go through a few do's and a few don'ts. And as we cover each one, drop that into the chat. Why you think we do say that or why we don't say it. How you might say it or how you would avoid not saying that. What we want to say are things like people are feeling the squeeze. What we don't want to say, the economy is in flux. Economy is an abstract term. We don't want to anchor on that. We do want to say things like the promise of a good life if you work hard is broken. What we don't want to say is everyone deserves a fair shot, a chance to compete. Let me pause on that for a second. We remember when we had Antonia on the call. We don't say things like fair shot or a chance because you working hard does not give you a chance, does not give you a shot at a better life. You working hard is not the lottery. You working hard is the American promise. That if you work hard and you play by the rules, you can have the good life that you have earned. You don't deserve a shot at that or a chance at that. You have earned that. That's your work. That's your labor. That is the American promise that is broken. Do say things like, for food, Trump's higher grocery prices are making it harder for families to make ends meet and easier for families to go hungry. Don't say things like food insecurity that are vague terms here. On healthcare, do say things like people are losing healthcare. Insurance costs are going up. Hospitals are closing. People are getting sick. Don't say changes to Medicaid eligibility and work requirements. The policy nuts and bolts things are not how people are feeling it. We need to work on that. We know we need to work on that. That's the job of the elected leaders, but that's not how we're going to change hearts and minds. Because the goal here and what we are talking about, and why we put out a message memo, is to meet people where they are. We are looking to keep this conversation focused on Minnesotans and their lives. We need to work hard on that because Republicans know they are losing on that conversation because they know they're breaking that promise and they are looking to distract. They want us to talk about anything other than our lives, the impacts of real people here in Minnesota. That's why we need to keep the spotlight on us and the ways that we talk about these issues. And this starts with breaking things down in simple ingredients that come directly from what we are hearing and you are hearing in these conversations that we're having all day, every day in our daily lives. Now, for the part that I know that you are all already prepared for, turning this week's message into action. This week, here are 2 actions that you can take. Doing what you're doing right now. Tune into the DFL Daily. Bring somebody else to the DFL Daily. Host a watch party. Share the YouTube clip of this later when it's posted online. And tell your loved ones about the Couch to Campaign Trail. If you haven't heard about it before, the Couch to Campaign Trail is a way to get involved in the political process at its most basic level. It can seem overwhelming for those of us that are new to the process. I know that. I remember going through that myself. Couch to Campaign Trail promises to not overwhelm anybody. It will meet them where they are. It will build their knowledge and build their confidence from now all the way through November. And our call to action today is simple. Tell one person what the Affordability 4 are. Remember those Affordability 4? We're going to go through them again really quick here. Affordability 4, food, healthcare, education, housing. The things that you think about all day, every single day. Name one person that you are going to tell the Affordability 4 about today. If you want to hold yourself accountable, drop it in the chat right now. Tell people you're going to do this. Your aunt, your grandpa, a neighbor, anything like that. Drop that in. Let's make sure that we are all spreading the word on these things. Keep this idea at the center of your conversations this week. I'm challenging you to do that. The Affordability 4. Keep them in your brain, keep it in your mouth as well, and help us amplify it far and wide. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate all of your time here today. Happy Tuesday. See you tomorrow. We're going to be joined by a very special guest to continue this conversation. We have 217 days until the November 3rd election. Let's go win this thing. Take care, all. Bye.